100 ounces of silver added to the stack, traded actually from gold into silver. Might be a little bit of a strange concept for some of you to part with the wonderful gold to trade into silver, but I have a grand master plan to turn this beautiful Johnson Matthey bar, this 100 ounces of silver, back into some absolutely exquisite gold, and to my benefit and favour as well. So let's dive in and talk about my grand master plan for this 100 ounce silver bar. Hello everybody, Backyard Bullion here, and welcome one and all to this week's In Focus Friday, where we take a good close look at something cool made of silver. And this big Johnson Matthey 100 ounce 999 fine silver bar is most certainly something cool made of silver. So I have added this to my stack, and I've actually traded some gold away to get this. Now that might sound strange to some of you, especially considering one of my previous videos this last week where I said I would be focusing on buying more gold than I would silver. However, I do think that this represents an opportunity in a couple of different ways for me to potentially add even more gold to the stack in due course by playing the ratio, by playing how much gold you could get for exchanging this, or just to be able to exchange non-capital gains exempt gold into capital gains exempt gold, which is a really important thing for, I think, a lot of people right now, considering the rule changes happening in the UK. We'll do a full video on those in due course, hopefully this weekend, maybe next week, but it's important to some people, and it's important to me, I think, as well. So with that in mind, let's dive in and talk a little bit about this, about the prospects for it, the day trading that you could do with it perhaps, and maybe the trading up into more gold that I have planned for it. And I'd love to hear what your thoughts and opinions are, not only on this bar, but generally on silver versus gold right now, or the potential for getting a little bit more gold added to your stack by trading silver, by literally being a dealer almost. And that's essentially what is happening here with some of this silver that I've been acquiring over this last year. Now, when I say day trading silver, there are a lot of people who have this misconception that you can almost sort of day trade silver. It's volatile enough that it goes up and it goes down, and you can look to maybe buy it and sell it and make a profit on it. And that's ultimately what dealers do. They have this sort of hedge where they can go either way. If the silver price goes up considerably, they're going to be nice and up. If it goes down, then a lot of the time you'll find that they tend to just sit on stock, or they acquire more stock. And having met and talked with a number of different dealers at length about this whole topic, they love it when the prices go down. And I would be, you know, if I'd bought £100,000 worth of stock and I was sitting there watching my stock value go down every time I sell something, I make a loss. These dealers love it because they know that it will be cyclical and it will come round at the other end and do a lot better. So I do think that whilst silver is an interesting buy right now, it certainly does represent something that has got potential. And more so when you are able to trade some of your older golds for it. And when you look at the trade that I did and the prices paid for some of the gold that I traded for this, I essentially ended up buying this this big old chunky bar. Depends how you account for it, of course, because if I use some of the grams and ounces of gold that I'd bought recently, the trade's not so favourable. But if you take the fact that I paid £1,000 an ounce for some of the gold that I traded away for this, you know, you suddenly find yourself that I've acquired this 100 ounce bar of silver for peanuts compared with what I would have done buying it brand new. I mean, we're talking, you know, I've probably paid like 1,400 quid for this bar. You know, so well under spot for that in that trade. However, that's not quite how the accounting works. The true accounting of it is, of course, what happens when you sell it. And also for like bookkeeping and tax purposes, of course, you know, you've got to account for the fact that you've released those gold coins and for a certain amount of money, essentially making a profit on it, and that will of course come in the bookkeeping. But the point here is that I've not had to outlay that additional cash. In fact, that, you know, £1,400, £1,500 that I put into gold 3, 4, 5 years ago has now yielded me something that is worth 2,000 plus. 2,200 is probably a good estimate of what this could sell for pretty easily, I think, with the Johnson Matthey. You know, we are doing an In Focus Friday. Let's talk a little bit about the bar quickly before we jump into the rest of the thought experiment. The Johnson Matthey brand is one of the world's most recognisable. There are a lot of Johnson Matthey products which are very collectible. However, this is just one of those bog standard big 100 ounce bars. There's nothing too special about it. You literally just see the logo, a nice little sort of cooling divot in the middle where the silver's cooled. 100 ounces, 909 fine, and there's the little assayer's mark there. It's not a hallmark, that's a different assay mark, but it's nevertheless just something else. It's a big chunky bar. Now, some people are a bit wary of big chunky bars because of the potential for them to be lead cord or just genuinely not fully silver. But big brand like this, difficult to fake something like this that has a bit of age to it, that historical look to it. And this came from somebody who I trust to have tested it thoroughly, and I also have been able to test it within the means that I can with a Sigma. Of course, it's going to have limited penetration of the silver, but I've also done some specific gravity tests, and I'm quite happy with this product. I think it is genuine and real. So there's not much more really to say about it. The only thing I would say about it that I am ever so slightly, my inner OCD, if you can make it out on camera, there's an ever so slight bend in the silver, which I think is interesting, and it's because, of course, they've stamped at both ends of here, and I don't quite know how that's necessarily happened for a bar this big. They must have put an awful lot of force and pressure to get these marks to bend a 100-ounce bar, but it is ever so slightly bent. I think you can probably tell it best from there. You can see the back end a little bit up. Anyway, my inner OCD goes, ooh, but it does make it quite fun to hold, because it's like a telephone. It's like right in the middle of the hand. It's beautiful. Anyway, I digress. The whole point of me getting, big heavy bar, the whole point of me getting this bar here is to play the market a little bit, play that ratio. So when silver is up, is down relative to gold, gold is sort of at that interesting price point right now where it is sort of still holding steady at that, well, pounds wise, about 1450, 1470, up to 1500 mark. We've seen highs of 1550, but it's still pretty high relative to where silver is. Silver's around the 18 pounds an ounce mark. So it is, if you look at the ratio just alone, it's a better time to be acquiring silver than it is to be acquiring gold. And hopefully, at some point, silver's price will either rise or gold's price will come down significantly. And then that will be the time to maybe look to trade this up and get some more gold into the stack. So again, I'm able to potentially look to buy more gold without having to outlay more than that original £1,400 that I spent to get those original gold coins that I traded for this. Now, again, it's all about how you, there are different ways that you account for things in terms of bookkeeping, in terms of like profit and loss for gold and, personal investments and all of that. And this very much falls into that personal capital gains tax release or capital gains release of a particular item that I was holding. This is not a business piece of silver. I'm not buying this to melt it. I'm not buying it to repurpose it. It's very much something like those gold coins that I had as an investment piece. So the way that we justify things in our mind, I think, is really interesting because, of course, me selling the gold to get the cash to then buy a silver bar is essentially the same as what I did, except no cash changed hands. The seller was happy just to exchange it for the gold. So then I'm now faced with this interesting question down the line. Do I go with the same thing? Do I essentially cash out by selling this bar? Or do I cash out by exchanging it for more gold at the time? And if I can add additional ounces of gold to the stack in due course, then that's great, and I'll try and do that. But the goal here was to get rid of coins and bars and little bits of gold that were not capital gains exempt, to get more that is, so sovereigns, Britannias, those kind of things. And this isn't capital gains exempt either, so there is a kind of ticking clock on this within the UK, and the capital gains tax rules have changed and are changing over the next couple of years. There will be different thresholds, and I'll go through those in more detail in due course. But nevertheless, I do think it's a really interesting one to add. Part of me might even be feeling quite sad to look to release this. It's a beautiful bar, and I have no doubt that in the time that I have it here in the stack, it will feature on many a video, and perhaps it might even be one of those that I can't bring myself to get rid of, and I might end up selling 100 ounces of other silver to keep this one. So I think it's fascinating how the human brain can, the head versus heart thing, which I talked about in my last video, it can really play with your grand master plans. In a perfect world, I'd want to get rid of this tomorrow and add additional ounces of gold to the stack. Well, not ounces, additional grams of gold to the stack, or at least get into those Britannias and sovereigns. But generally for me right now, it's much more about just having that hedge, having something different, having something that's going to potentially be yeah, even more potential in the future. So this is how I plan, if at all, to get more silver into the stack for the short term. Now, in terms of that expectation of others that you could do the same, be very wary. Be very wary, because you're going to be locking yourself into something that is difficult. 100-ounce bar of silver is just one lump. You have to sell it all in one go. If tomorrow an emergency happened and I had to liquidate it, I'm faced at the prospect of getting maybe a little bit more than spot for this if I sell it privately, but that's not a guaranteed quick sale. It would very much be a case of taking a bit of a trim on what I've put in. Certainly wouldn't be able to necessarily buy back the same amount of gold that I put in easily. So there's definitely risks to put in, and whether you're doing it in the 100-ounce scale or even on the micro scale, smaller grams versus ounces, it's definitely something to think about, but it's also something to be wary of and to be understanding of how the whole market works. I do think, though, it adds value, not just in additional ounces of gold or grams of gold or value in terms of cash, but also experience in trading, experience in how you can actually look to release some of the equity that you've got within these products that we all sit here and, at the end of the day, it's just a lump of metal that just doesn't really do anything, but how you act and interact with it will yield different things. So there we have my 100, I said it is mine for now until it's released out, maybe, I don't know. I'm growing attached to it more and more as I sit here, so maybe this won't be put up for sale and something else will be down the line. But for now, that is what we've got, and I'm very happy with it. So let me know your thoughts down in the comment section. I'd love to hear what you've got to say about this bar, about my plan to trade it up for more gold as well. That would be really interesting to hear. If you're doing the same thing, it'd be great to hear your strategies, how you're managing to play that ratio, or at least play the market in a sort of semi-trading way so that you can, it's like that barter exchange thing where you take a paperclip and you see how far you can get with just free trades, free exchanges of things that other people want. See if you can get up to the top and maybe get yourself a 100-ounce bar from starting with a paperclip. That's, I think, one of those fun challenges. Pretty hard to do, though. So let me know your thoughts down in the comment section. Otherwise, thank you to my ramblers for listening right to the end of the video. No bonus ramble today, but thank you for all of you who did listen to the bonus ramble at the back end of the last video. I hear your sentiments. I understand where we're all on the same page, so thank you. Really is great to hear from you guys. So we'll see you on the next one. As always, please make sure that you like, share, comment, and subscribe for more.